UK Prison Stories Part 2. If you're interested in taking an all expenses paid holiday at Her Majesty's pleasure, then you may be interested in a few stories I have for you today. I have a story about mistaken identity, pool balls, a cellmate, and a sexual story with a female. Number 1. Mistaken identity. Now, my first adult prison was HMP Leicester. It's about 200 years old, looks like a castle, and is pretty shabby and run down. I remember my first day. I'd only been to a young offenders prison before this prison. I was hoping to know at least one person, but unfortunately, on the wing I was on, I didn't know a single soul. I remember one day, in my first month, I was reading the newspaper before going to get my breakfast. As I walked outside my door, to my delight, I recognised someone. I was buzzing. I couldn't place him, but I definitely knew him. As we walked past each other, our eyes met. I nodded my head, greeted him with a huge smile and shook his hand. All the time trying to place him. Was I just used to seeing him in pubs in my hometown? Was he friends with someone that I knew? I couldn't think. He was pretty responsive to me, although he looked like he was trying to place me as well. So I'm walking off and I get back to my cell, and for the life of me, I can't remember who he was. The next thing you know, I'm reading the paper again, eating my cornflakes, when I see the same man again, but not in my cell, in the paper. It was then that I realised that I don't know the man at all. I'd just been reading about him before leaving my cell, hence why he seemed so familiar. The guy was a fucking axe murderer, I swear to God. He had got upset at his neighbour for complaining about the music or something, so he broke into her flat and killed her with an axe and a knife. So yeah, that was my new neighbour now. He must have thought I was a big fan of his work or something, since I greeted him so nicely. I remember he didn't remain on the wing for long. He must have got moved after every single prisoner saw him in the paper for killing an innocent woman. Number 2, pool balls. So I'm on the wing one day in HMP Unley. It was a Cat C prison that had recently been moved to. So instead of being allowed out of our cells for just 1 hour, we was allowed out for slightly longer. I forget the exact amount of time. The period when you're able to do your own thing out of your cell is called association. Well, one day we're on association and there's around 6 or 7 of us surrounding the pool table playing Winner Stays On. Now, if you act up on the wing, you get your privileges taken away and you're only allowed out of your cell for a shower and to collect food. Well, this one boy had acted up and had his privileges removed. While we were playing pool, 2 officers had gone to his cell on the landing above us, let him out to have a shower. They walked with him and waited outside the shower room until he was done. The problem was, after he'd done in the shower, the guy didn't want to be locked up in his cell for the rest of the day. He was arguing with the officers and refusing to go back to his cell. After a quick back and forth argument, one officer used his radio, and as quick as a flash, there were 2 other officers on the wing, all on the landing just above us, talking to this lad. It was obvious what was going to happen. The officers remained calm and acted really caring and concerned, but slowly surrounded the guy. They were talking all peacefully, but every other person on the wing had seen this kind of thing 1,000 times and knew exactly what was coming. The guy wasn't being violent, he was just ignoring the orders to go to his cell. After the officers had all slyly positioned themselves in a perfect semicircle around this lad, one officer pounced and then the rest switched from caring and concern to beast mode. They all jumped on this guy, trying their best to pin him to the floor. The only issue for the guards is that the guy was strong. He wasn't assaulting them, but he was not letting himself get taken down easily and doing a great job at remaining on his feet. So the whole wing just stood, staring up at the first floor where this was going on. There were no cameras on the wing at the time, and every guard on the wing was tied up in the fight. As it was happening, I see one guy who'd been watching us play pool look around, realise that we were totally unsupervised, and slowly walk up to the pool table, continuing to look around at his surroundings. I watched him pick up a pool ball, have a final look around, and then proceed to throw the ball at the guards as they all had their back to us and were fighting the guy who had his back against the wall. Now, when I say throw, don't picture a girl or a child throwing. I'm talking about he launched that ball like a baseball pitch. Powerful. I watched it hit a guard's back. I saw the guard quickly stand up straight and look back. He saw the ball bouncing, felt the pain, But before he could do anything, he had to turn back to the fight he was having. Well, all the other prisoners saw this happen. I remember watching the exact same thought go through the head of all of them. I remember in synchronization, about 4 or 5 other inmates, including the guy who'd thrown the first ball, walk up to the table, all carefully look around, and then each grab a ball or two. As they walked forward, I started walking back. I wanted to put as much distance in between them and me. Then it happened. Pool balls went rocketing at the officers' heads and backs. It was crazy. The fight was still happening and the guards didn't know what was going on. Now, the lad who refused to go to his cell was really fighting them back from the front, all while a load of solid pool balls struck them from the back. The prisoners who were launching the balls were buzzing. They couldn't believe they were getting away with this. They were laughing and continuing to pick up balls and throw them. I remember one guard turned around. I saw the look in his face. He realised what was happening. He realised that they were struggling with just one guy and that they had no backup, and what seemed to be a whole wing of lads throwing pool balls at them, though we couldn't identify a single culprit as it had been done so quickly. He kind of gave that awkward, desperate smile to the wing before turning back to the guy they were fighting. After some time, and when there was no pool balls left on the table, other officers finally appeared on the wing and that guy was put into his cell. The rest of the wing were put into our cells early due to the incident. There were absolutely no repercussions for anyone as no one could be identified. It wasn't nice to watch and a couple of the officers were seriously injured. It could have been much worse as well. The crazy thing is that the guards in question weren't even that bad and the prisoners who had done it just did it for a laugh. Now, I did record the audio for all of 4 stories. However, that takes the video up to 16 minutes long, which means to do all the images, it's going to take me a long time. So I'm going to cut the video here and do a Crazy Prison Stories Part 2B later this week. Thanks for your patience. Peace.